All right, previously we talked about archetypes, and I did a short introduction to archetypes in Jung psychology. And I talked about how an archetype is an autonomous psychological complex mediated by primordial images. And if that's confusing, it's basically like there are these primordial images that are common to all people, and they can be projected onto things that aren't common to all people. So the archetype is something that everybody has within their psyche, but the experience that you're projecting this archetype onto is something that is intrinsic to you. Okay? So if that doesn't make much sense, then you can go back and check out the other video where I probably described it a little bit better. This one is going to be on the unconscious. So we talked about an introduction to archetypes. Now we're going to talk about the unconscious. And this is a really weird diagram from a book called Archetypal Dimensions of the Psyche, written by Marie von Franz, who was a student of Jung, close disciple of Jung. And this says, diagram of the structure of the unconscious. So this is something you really don't see every day. I thought this was really cool when I first saw it in the book. So we're gonna get started and look at it. And take a look at it. So we have A. We have all these A's here on the outer edge of the diagram. All right, and this is supposed to be ego consciousness, or it's supposed to represent ego consciousness. So it's supposed to be ego consciousness for individual people. Okay, so we've got like all these people here represented by A, and the ego in Jung psychology, or probably in like most psychology, I don't know, like sticklers are probably going to jump on me for this in the comments, but for most psychology is like the part of the conscious mind responsible for identity and psychological continuity. Okay, so like how you can put like a story of yourself together. Okay, that's like what the ego is responsible for. So if we go a layer deeper, then we're at the level of the personal unconscious, which is a part of the individual's psychological experience that occurs without their awareness. Okay, or at least how I've put these definitions. So I'm not a psychologist. I'm a professional academic, I guess you could say. Well, yeah, professional academic, but I'm not a professional psychologist. So, take these as you will. I'm not a professional psychologist. I'm just a hobbyist. Okay, but I think this actually accurately describes what you would read from any text on Jung psychology that describes a personal unconscious. Okay, so B would be at the level of the personal unconscious for individual people. All right, so you have an A here for an ego, or someone's ego, and then you have B corresponding to a personal unconscious. Then at the level of C, we have a couple people getting together and forming a group. So it's like an unconscious of a small or like medium-sized group, maybe like people you work with, or your family, or like a small town. And then once we get to D, if we go a layer deeper, then we get to the unconscious on a national scale. Okay, so this would be like a country. So hundreds of millions of people. And then if we go a layer deeper, then we get to archetypes. Okay, and this is on the level, archetypes are on the level of the collective unconscious, which are parts or a part of the psychological experience of all people that occurs without their awareness. Okay, so the reason that we can say in the previous video I said that there was a tree of life archetype, the reason that means something to all people or lots of people is because it's something that has to do with our collective unconscious, or something that we all have like born into us, or at least that's, if you buy into Jung's psychology, then that's what they would say. Okay, so we're gonna do an example. Almost went too far. Okay, so this is from John Beebe's book, this chart at least. This is from John Beebe's book called Energies and Patterns in Psychological Type, because I promised I would bring typology and psychological type into this playlist at some point. So we can look at this quote-unquote conscious archetype or conscious function here, which is the hero archetype, which is, the shorthand says it's an area of strength and pride. It organizes adaptation and initiates individuation. So the hero is it's an archetype that everyone's going to be familiar with. Okay, if you are a person, then you are familiar in some sense with a hero archetype. Okay, so let's consider the archetype of the hero. So that's at the level E All right. But if we come out to the outermost edge, or on the level of ego consciousness, like we could say that people generally feel this way, so they feel like they're strong and they feel proud of themselves when they accomplish something, or they feel like a winner, or what have you. So that's on the level of somebody's ego, an individual's ego, one person. Then maybe once you get down to the layer of your personal unconscious, then like you think about why people go to the gym. Maybe like, okay, not every person, but like some people might have an image of what they want to be like in their heads, and for psychological reasons they want to build themselves up. Okay, so maybe you could go deeper into your unconscious and figure out what those psychological reasons are, but it's something that you're not currently, like, say you want bigger muscles, and it's something that you don't currently have. Okay, then that's not even, a lot of those reasons might not even be on the level of ego consciousness at that point. They might be unconscious, but that's just for you at this point. Okay, it's at B. If we go to C, oh, and this is like, wow, this is a very creepy picture, but just ignore that, and we can read this headline. It says, hometown hero helped battle a bull to save a woman's life. So a college student was an impromptu bullfighter. Okay, so when this woman, saw a woman, so never mind, that's okay that she has that face. She was fighting a freaking bull. Okay, so when Laura K. Shrake saw a woman being gored by a bull in an Illinois cornfield, she didn't stop to think, she stopped to help. Okay, so this is on the level of a small town where people are like, okay, this woman is a hero. Okay, it's like, I've never heard of this person, but I'm sure the people in this area see this person as a hero. Then if we get to the level of a nation, then, like, for example, you can look at Martin Luther King for the nation of the United States, and you can say, all right, well, there's people in the U.S. that don't know much about Martin Luther King, but might say, okay, well, he's a national hero, even though they couldn't tell you really much about him, besides like, oh, he was a civil rights leader, and he said that racism was bad. Like, most people probably, or not most people, but there's a good amount of people that think that he was probably a national hero, but don't know really much about him, other than surface level stuff. So you could say, all right, well, there's probably a great deal of unconsciousness surrounding this person. He's more an archetypal figure than you can say that he embodies this archetype, because people might not know anything concrete about him, but they still associate him with being a hero. Okay, and then we have the universal archetype, or universal archetypal structures, on the level of the collective unconscious. But we're back at E again. We have like Avengers, and then like you can go and look at like the myth of Osiris, or you can look at like Greek myths, and even though these are from different cultures and different countries, you can still recognize them as hero characters, or hero archetypal characters. All right, and we're at 9 minutes again. I think this is a good stopping point. This is an introduction to the unconscious in Jung psychology, and it really doesn't need to get much more complicated than that for us to start talking about typology in terms of this stuff. But you really do need. I think it's really helpful to have clear definitions like this. Otherwise, people start talking woo-woo and start talking stuff that like really might not make sense. So, okay, I mean, if you made it this far, you've made it 10 minutes in, I appreciate it, and hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the comments or in the next video.